Hello teachers and welcome to an episode of Tinkercad Lesson Ideas. We're going to be looking at designing a toothpaste squeezer today, and this episode has been brought to you by Tinkersteps. So the video content will go through the design brief, curriculum links, lesson plan suggestions, CAD considerations, and if you do end up using Tinkersteps, tips on using our service. The design brief has been split into three sections. We've got the problem, the potential clients, and the objective. So the problem is using every bit of toothpaste in a tube can save you a lot of toothpaste, but it's not always easy to squeeze every last bit out. I like this problem because students end up designing something that is functional, and also they can get authentic feedback if they want to iterate or redesign and improve their future designs. The clients are themselves. This is again really handy because they can easily access the clients. So it's just their peers, and they don't have to, interview a train driver, for example, to get feedback. I do suggest some design criteria just to kind of keep it constrained. The first one is to design something to be used by one hand, and that's because the other hand, I'm guessing, will be holding a toothbrush. It should also be cheap to produce, and it should be intuitive to operate. The second dot point can be facilitated through our website, and we can have a look at that in more detail later on. Curriculum links can be found within both Victorian and Australian curriculum. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but this is a brief overview of where things could be located in at certain year levels. Later on in the video, I'll make specific curriculum links where appropriate. These are lesson plan suggestions and how you can operate this. What I would suggest is to introduce the design brief, show products that already exist, and to do that, you can simply go to thingiverse.com and you can type in toothpaste squeezer. Now, I wouldn't suggest the students to go onto this website because they can easily just download the STL files and then call it a day. But I would suggest that you borrow some of these pictures. They're all Creative Commons licenses, so you can pick what you need, and then kind of demonstrate that you can go from a simple design such as this triangle all the way to a very complex design where you have multiple parts with a turnkey to squeeze out the toothpaste. So there are multiple ways for students to do this. They can even add in their own particular designs, and this increases the complexity and difficulty depending on how far the students want to take it. My next suggestion is that they must sketch their design first on paper. The measurements that you'll need obviously is the width of a toothpaste tube as well as how wide the opening is. This is my example of a draft design on paper, and you can see here that we've got an isosceles triangle, so students can practice their shape drawing skills, and this is the traditional using protractors and whatnot to draw whatever shapes that they need to design. The next suggestion is that students should trial the paper designs over the toothpaste tubes. This is pretty handy just to quickly test their designs and to get immediate feedback. And here is an example. You can see here in this picture that the 5mm gap is a little bit too big. So what I ended up doing was cutting it down to 3mm, and you can see in the comparison that it fits over the tube a lot more tighter. So it should be able to squeeze out more of the toothpaste. Here are some tips when students are ready to go into Tinkercad. Number one, encourage students to start with a simple design.
This is a quick example of how I transformed my paper designs into Tinkercad. The reason why students should start with simple designs is to give them a foundation which they can add on more complexity later. If they try and build a very complex design from the very start, they might not know how or where to start on Tinkercad. So asking them to start simple and then to build on the foundation will assist. Also, depending on how familiar your students are with Tinkercad, they may find even simple designs difficult to do well. As you can see in the video here, I do use quite a number of tools to get everything in the correct position. To help, you can break up the design using these 6 steps to help scaffold the design process, as well as assist students with figuring out where to start when constructing on Tinkercad. Adding complexity can increase the difficulty to both Tinkercad and math skills. Here, I try and add an indent for my thumb, as well as adding 3 spheres to each of the triangle vertices. You can see here that as I try and position the center of the sphere to the vertex tips, it requires a few calculations to figure out how far along the horizontal and vertical axes I need to position the spheres to get the sphere center perfectly on the point. This suddenly makes understanding how Cartesian plane work an important skill, as students are using these skills to correctly position the shapes. This is a great way to showcase the use for Cartesian planes. Students can use the mouse and arrow keys to position the objects, but they can't be sure if they're in the right position unless they check the object coordinates. By using the Cartesian plane concepts, they can perfectly position the shapes where they would want them. The following short clip shows how you can use our cost estimator to add a budget to further challenge student designs. What I'm doing here is uploading my designs to the class using the class code. My first model was too expensive, and you can see the models changing subsequently as a result of that feedback. As a teacher, you can set the cost for each student model. This function is all free to use, and you can download student submitted files and use your own printers to print if you want. If, however, you do plan on printing through us, then you'll need to set a realistic budget per model. My suggestion is between $10 to $15 per model. If you are planning on using this function, I strongly suggest you ask students to upload their designs to the website frequently as they are building their models. This helps them to keep track on how much budget they have left. I made the mistake of submitting my final design to the site and realizing it was too expensive at the end. Fixing the entire model was a challenge because the individual parts were already joined, so I had to pull them apart again and resize them individually. This picture shows the final result of my design as a result of having a set budget. You can see that it forces students to consider what is structurally and functionally important when trying to reduce cost. And this concludes this lesson idea video. We hope that you found this useful, and please leave any feedback if you do happen to use this with your students. To find out more about how our website works, please click on the link below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more of these videos. Until next time, take care.